Let's talk about the general garden variety run-of-the-mill traffic stop when you're out there driving around and you've done something apparently to gather a police officer's attention and they pull you over. Yesterday, I got a couple comments besides all the angry comments about calling me bacon bits and pig and these sorts of wonderful pork related things, donut eater. And who can resist? I love donuts as well. I didn't become a cop because I like donuts, but I do enjoy a good donut. So anyway, having said that, let's get into this. I remember when I was first on the job pulling people over, and there was a little bit of training on how to pull people over and of course explain to them from an officer safety perspective, but there wasn't a lot that was really taught about that presentation, that first point of contact. And I know that when I will get stopped even today by other agencies besides the one in which I worked, or even, and it doesn't really matter who, but any police officer, a lot of times they start with that entry question. They say, "Do you know why I stopped you?" There's nothing else. They get up to the window. They don't say good morning, good afternoon, good evening. There's no greeting. There's no introduction as to who they are, maybe where they work. They immediately get into, "Do you know why I stopped you?" And I guess for people that really respect the law, probably not a big deal, yet it is a little crass and it could be handled better. So I remember that whenever I would stop people when I was new on the job and would present in that regard, it really didn't go well because it always puts people on a complete defensive. So what I did is I developed a way to introduce myself to anybody that I stopped, and I want to bounce this off you because of a comment, besides the bad ones I got yesterday from a gentleman. He was talking to me about usually when police stop people, they're a little arrogant and a little ego heavy, and I get that. There's also an officer safety perspective, but you're stopping grandma. Maybe they're worried that she's going to blow them out of their socks. I don't know. But again, there are some very dangerous people in the world. I think we all need to agree. And those dangerous people do get stopped on traffic stop. I think McVeigh, that blew up the Oklahoma City area, blew up that building. Timothy McVeigh was stopped in a traffic stop. Richard Ramirez, I believe he was stopped in a traffic stop. I mean, dangerous people that are out there driving vehicles to get from point A to point B, and they happen to get stopped by police officers. Understanding that, of course. So now let's talk about this presentation, and you tell me how you think it feels. Now, if I pull you over when I was a cop, I'm not anymore. I just give advice on for the people that are not guilty, how to approach getting out of a citation the best way. First and foremost is not getting one in the first place. But if you do happen to get stopped, the things to actually do to try to limit your exposure with the police officer, because right at the beginning, from the first violation that they see, all the way till they write you the citation and you're on your way, they are documenting either mentally recording that, taking notes, the citation, or they might have video cameras, some kind of audio recording equipment, these sorts of things. But here's two different ways. So you get pulled over, and the cop walks up and says, "Hey, you know, stopped you today." Just lacks the finesse. It lacks the human pleasantries. It really does lack a lot. So what I developed was this: get the violation, I stop the motorist, I pull them over. Usually, if I can, and if they're, let's say, not pulling somewhere safe where we can talk, because it's really horrible to sit on a main street when you have traffic whizzing by and you're standing out there kind of exposed. You kind of try to take them off the beaten path somewhere not private so you can beat them up, but somewhere so you can, conversation with them. But sometimes it's difficult to get people to move in such a way, and you end up yelling into the PA, "Go right, go left," and all this other stuff. And I think that's a little exaggerated too. And of course, we want everybody to be safe, not just the officer, but the people that are being stopped by the officer, because we've all seen the video. Sometimes it ends up in a very bad place, whether they deserved it or not. Deserve has nothing to do with it. It should be about just upholding the letter of the law and getting done what needs to be done with as little pain and problem as possible. So the first one that walks up, of course, is that very aggressive, very ego driven, "Do you know why I stopped you today?" So that's that one way. The way that I've coined that I really like is this, and you tell me how this feels. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever fits. I'm Officer McIver, Los Angeles Police Department Valley Traffic Division. The reason why I stopped you today is because I have you on laser locked in at 55 miles an hour in a 35-mile-an-hour zone. I'd like to ask you if you have any legal justification for your speeding today. And then I wait for them to respond. And it's interesting at that point, let's say they don't say anything. And then we'll talk about kind of some ways that I've had responses to me, some of the stories I remember on when I didn't even write the ticket. But usually after that, if they say, well, no, not that they can really say anything that would change my mind, but I'll show you some of those cases as they exist. But if they say, well, no, I don't, then I say, I need to see your license, registration, proof of insurance, and they give me the documents. So once I have them in my hand, then I say, I'm going to go back and write you a citation for unsafe speed. I'll be back in a moment for your safety. Please remain in the vehicle. And I go back and I do what I said I'm going to do. I write the citation. I come back and I present. This is a citation of which I spoke. It shows you at 55 miles an hour in a 35-mile-an-hour zone. You have to appear on or before this date. You're signing here, not saying you agree with me, but you're promising to appear in court. It's an order of the court, this traffic citation. It's not signing it because you think Connor's right, or you're not going to fight me later, or you're not going to do any of these sorts of things. It's just you promising to take care of the citation and appear in court or take care of it prior to, which doesn't always necessitate a court appearance. It's going to depend on your driving record history, your DMV record, and these sorts of things. But that's what your signature means. Press hard, please. There's 4 copies. Here's my pen. So you hand them the citation. They would sign it, and then you give them a copy. I say, do you have any questions? And usually it's no, because of the professionalism that was exhibited during the traffic stop. It's all respect, folks. It's all, that's where it really comes down to. It comes down to the officer respecting the person they're stopping. Okay. So there's the other side of it where, do you have any legal justification for your speed? And then they might say something like, oof, God, my mind was totally somewhere else. I was thinking of, well, my wife's going to be giving birth today, I think. They're inducing labor at 2 o'clock. I'm very excited. I wasn't even thinking about this. And oh my God, I was driving so fast, I might not even make it. You know what, officer? Thank you so much for stopping me. I'm going to really pay attention now. And you know what? You're right. I do appreciate you stopping me, though. It's at that moment that Connor needs to be revived because I just passed out. Because who says that? Those are the people that in world of should you get a ticket, should you not get a ticket? Does the officer have a choice who they write a ticket to and who they don't? Of course, absolutely. But for that type of person, they weren't kissing my butt. They weren't, saying, officer, you look fantastic. How do you keep in such great shape? Nothing like that. They were being real. I noticed in their dissertation that their mind was actually somewhere else. They had something else, and that's a big deal, have a baby. Inducing labor is a big deal. Who knows why they have to induce labor? There could be some kind of an issue that they have to do that. So, of course, he's not present of mind. Of course, he's not paying attention to what he's doing. And then he also acknowledges that him not paying attention equate to it being incredibly dangerous for him. So he informs me of that as well. And then he says he's going to do a better job paying attention because he doesn't want to miss the birth of his child and he's putting other people in danger. It's like, God, I might as well just saint him and send him on his way or give him some kind of an escort. Those are the types of responses that typically are not given. I can tell you that in most days there were zero of those. Those came up every once in a while. Most everybody was pretty accepting. There were people that cussed and swore and wished death upon me, hoped that I never made it home to see my kids, and I died sometime on the police motorcycle throughout the day or week. And I had people also ask if maybe I'm sick or I'm not feeling well. Maybe I have some terminal cancer that might prohibit me from appearing in court later. I mean, vicious stuff. But every time I walk back, I knew they don't know me. They only know me because I'm that contact they have with a bigger picture. I'm the representative of the police department, something they might not like the law. They might not appreciate the enforcing of it. And of course, who wants to get a ticket? I never had anybody ever receive a citation thanking me from the bottom of their heart. Now, having said this, let's understand that a lot of times it's up to the police officer whether they're going to write or not. In some cases, if people were really, really, and they were upfront about what they did, it was a very remarkable thing. And then also, if in cases maybe they said, yeah, I'm you stopped me, officer, because at the time that I think I saw you, but again it was, I've already passing you, but just before that I remember thinking to myself, I have this car recently, and usually it brings your attention to other cars that are very much like it, where before you actually own that type of vehicle, you never saw them, but you buy that type of car, then they're everywhere. I remember one just blowing by me and it made a quick left before I got to your location and before you subsequently pulled me over. I'm wondering maybe if that was the vehicle that was in fact speeding, because it was the same color, probably the same year, definitely the same model. And I know that one like that just passed me, but it again, officer, something that I'll probably want to bring up in court if in fact you write me the citation. I just kind of make the record because I know you're recording all of this, and I think it would be helpful. Not bad, right? A little bit of a strategy there, if in fact that's the truth. Not a bad strategy, because then in court, I remember that day I tried to inform you during the traffic stop because I wasn't speeding. I never break the speed law. I knew it was a 35-mile-an-hour zone. I never exceed 35 miles an hour, no matter what. If anything, going less, accelerating, and these sorts of things. But I do make it a point never to speed because I'm in my family. We have a couple police officers, and family is. I never want to get stopped by any of them because they're just pricks. But again, I make it a point. I never ever exceed, this. So I know in my mind as I'm driving my vehicle that I know I didn't do it that day, but I did bring up at the traffic stop, and this is what they would say in court. I brought up at the traffic stop that there was another vehicle just like mine because I had recently purchased mine. As it drove by me really, really fast, I thought that's interesting because, now I'm always seeing all the cars that look just like mine, where before I bought it, I never saw them. So this is maybe enough to have some reasonable doubt injected into your case if you choose to appear. Now, I'll do other videos and such about that evidence gathering time when the police officer is out there speaking with you. But I do know, and I want to get your thoughts, that kind of a presentation, if they came up and just gave a greeting, gave an introduction, told them exactly why they stopped you, asked them if you have a reason, and then asked for your license, registration, insurance, and then told them exactly what was going to happen. I'm going to go back. I'm going to write you a citation for unsafe speed at 55 and a 35. Please remain in your vehicle. It's safer there. I'll be back in just a moment. Who would have thought? Anyway, let me know what you think. It's Connor with Honor, and we will see you in the next one.